Tyler Chester, dude. Welcome to the show, the Capital Raiser Show, man. How are you doing today?
Ruben, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Man, I'm feeling my authentic self, dude. I've never worn a hoodie before on the show, but I feel like really being transparent and let the audience know who I am today because I have you on the show and you're all about personal development and being yourself and elevating. One of the things I really love about you and your show is that you refer to your audience as Elevate Nation. I heard a show that you had with Whitney Sewell yesterday. So big shout out to Elevate Nation. I think maybe I should start calling my audience the Capital Raiser Nation. That would be pretty cool.
Absolutely, man. You
No,
got to
man.
give them an
So
identity.
yeah, no doubt. One of the things that I need to practice is asking for a 5-star rating. So I've never done it on the show before. I heard your show and you actually do it, I believe, on every show, right? You ask the people, hey,
I do.
subscribe. So not only will I do that for my show, but I want people, if they do that, to go ahead and go to Tyler's show, Elevate
Just
Podcast,
called
right?
Elevate. Elevate with Tyler Chester. Yeah, so I would
Yeah.
definitely be grateful for that. Look,
Go
here's the
ahead,
lesson on
Tyler.
that.
Yeah,
If you
do it.
don't ask, the answer is always no. And you know what? Sometimes I think about this in business. We're all in business for long term, right? We're looking for something for long-term relationships. We're not just looking to do one deal, whether we're raising capital or what have you. But one thing I learned really early on is that if you want a referral, you want an introduction, you got to ask for it because most people don't realize that you need that or want that. And it seems so simple, but if you start asking for that, you're going to get it more. So anyway, I just want to make that mention.
That's cool, dude. Let's jump into a little bit about your background. And based off what you say, I have a ton of questions for you, man, particularly around the CCIM degree. But tell the audience who you are and what you're about. Tell us about your business and some of the other aspects that you want to share with the audience.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you having me on, and I'm really excited to be here. So my name is Tyler Chesser. For those who don't know me, I own a company called the Chesser Companies. How original, right? I got that name from that God-given last name that was given to me. But what we do is real estate investment. We also coach real estate investors across the United States, and we also broker commercial real estate. And so those are kind of the three pillars of our business. And I also host, the podcast that we just talked about, Elevate podcast. So shout out to Elevate Nation, which is
Yeah.
all about really elevating your mindset. It's elevating your habits, your circle, your network, your understanding, your tactics, your tools, your systems to elevate to a life without limits. And really that's why I love real estate, is because it's a practical tool which can allow you to practically elevate to a life without limits instead of just trading your time for money at all times. You've got the ability of leveraging this great asset that can then give you the ability of doing what you want and going out there and being the best version of yourself. But the reason why I started Elevate is because I realized to be successful in real estate, I had to develop myself to a point to where I could handle the stress, to where I could capture the opportunities, to where I could, cultivate the appropriate identity. And so I became obsessed with personal development, personal growth, reading books, hiring coaches, coaching others, learning from mentors, building a network. And it just became who I was and who I am. And it's like every single day I just recreate myself to become something new and something greater. So I'm really inspired that it's 2020 now, because it's like, wow, like what a substantial year, like what a substantial number and new decade. It's like, man, we've got the ability of kind of totally recreating our future every single day, but it's just a great reminder, such a substantial reminder that, it's now or never. Let's do this.
Who have you studied, man? I want to know about the personal development programs that you've gone through, if you've had any personal development coaches, mentors, programs, and then also on the real estate side, who has taught you this business?
Yeah, for sure. So, I try to learn from the best at all times. I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins. I mean, I've been to Unleash the Power Within. If you haven't been to that conference, I highly recommend it. You can totally turn decades into days through that experience. But beyond that, when I got started in real estate early on, I've been in real estate now for almost 7 years, which is crazy to even think. But when I got into real estate, I was coming out of the corporate world, and I was always taught, go to school, get good grades, get a good job. And then when you're 65 and a half, you're going to ride off into the sunset with your 401k. And who was I to question that? I never thought that there was any flaws in that argument until I realized, wow, this life isn't something that I'm fulfilled by, because I was plugging it in. I was working hard, and I was getting the cost of living raises on an annual basis. And I was getting a minor promotion here or there, but I was climbing that long corporate ladder that I was thinking, wow, this is going to take a long time to get to where I want to be financially or otherwise. And I started to feel like a little bit trapped in that. And so when I got into real estate, my answer to those problems was to get into real estate, because I felt like I had the opportunity of doing more, frankly, to make more money. And so I didn't have any background in that business, so I had to hire a coach. So I hired a coach originally, and he started talking about books. And I'm thinking, all right, wait a minute, books, that's interesting. We all know books, but wait a minute, I left college and I left those in the rear view. What, you're telling me I have to read more books? But he mentioned this book called Think and Grow Rich. And, obviously the title of that book highly was intriguing to me. And so I said, all right, you know what? I'll read that book. And when I read that book, I'm telling you, I could not understand what he was talking about. I could not understand
Awesome.
anything Napoleon Hill was talking about. And so I had to reread these pages like
Me
multiple
too.
times. And as I started to let this thing seep in, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to try this and see what happens. And it totally changed my life. So then I became addicted to this type of content and to this type of just trial and error, this life. And so I hired more coaches. I went to more conferences. I went to every conference you could ever imagine. Like I said, became obsessed with Tony Robbins and those folks. It just became a way of life. And really, I read a book a week now, and just because it's just like every single time I do, some new light bulb comes on in my mind, and I create a new opportunity. And so it's really fun, man. It sparked my curiosity, and something that I never really would have expected as I entered that corporate world. I thought I was done with learning, but now it's like every day I have a ton more to learn. It's really exciting. It's made my life really exciting as well.
So who were your coaches?
You know what's so funny? So when I got into real estate originally, I was doing residential real estate
Yeah.
sales, because I didn't know anything about real estate. I thought real estate was the house on the corner over here. You sell a house, and that's what real estate was. Like I literally had no clue. And so my first coach was a guy named Joe Stump out of Southern California in San Diego. A great guy, and he had a great program called Buy Referral Only, which is funny. We talk about that because when I started this show, we talked about you have to ask for the referrals. And so I learned that process, but he had so many different things in his program that taught me, how to negotiate, how to build a business. And it was really by referral. And people would always ask, wow, how are you building this book of business? And it was really through simple concepts of just building true relationships, adding value, and asking for that referral. So that was my first coach. And I was with him for several years. But it's interesting because I transitioned into commercial real estate pretty quickly. And I still use the systems and the tactics that he taught me in that course, in that program. And I just continue to grow. And I've had other coaches since.
Cool, dude. I definitely want to talk about a couple of the chapters in Think and Grow Rich. Have you read that recently?
Oh yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, I'm about to read it for the fourth time here. I read it every January now, so this will be my fourth year in a row.
Do you have a favorite chapter or a favorite concept or a favorite story from that book?
Well, I'm really excited right now to be joining a mastermind
Nice.
finally. And I've been in unpaid masterminds, but I'm joining a paid mastermind. So that one I would say is my most recent favorite right now, just because it's a new part of this that I'm truly investing in, I'm truly implementing in my life. But I think just in general, overall, just with the subconscious mind and how you can plant seeds in your own subconscious mind. To me, I never understood this. I went to school for marketing, which really, at the end of the day, should be about communicating to other people's subconscious minds. But I'd never even heard of this concept. And so when I started to learn about this, that you can not only communicate to others' subconscious mind, but you can communicate to your own and plant those seeds, to me was such a mind-blowing experience. And some of the early things that really stood out to me about Think and Grow Rich was about how it's about persistence. It's putting a plan in action. It's thinking big. It's putting a number in front of your face every single day and saying, that's my goal, and going after it. But the other thing and I know I'm jumping around so much on
No, you're
this.
good, dude. That's what this show is about, dude.
All right, good, good. Well, the other thing is, it's not just about money, right? It's anything that you want in your life. This book is like the blueprint for that. So anyway, we'll dive into anything you want.
Cool, man. So when I met you, dude, it was at Todd Dexheimer's event, the North Star Real Estate Conference.
Yep.
I remember like meeting you, and I was intimidated, honestly, or not intimidated. It was more like I kind of like held you on you had such posture, and you had just got back from this trip to Italy, and you were like this multifamily syndicator, and I'm just like entering the business with a group that has a phenomenal track record. But me, I don't have this track record. So I'm looking at you, and you mentioned you have this podcast, and you were just talking so fluently, and I think you had a beer, so you were even more relaxed and authentic. And I was like, oh man, how do I get to that level?
That's
Like I
awesome,
want to
man.
be able to present myself that way on my show. But that was really cool. What is there a certain thing that you do like to be so fluid, to communicate with such eloquence, or is it just natural for you the way that you come out on your show and in person? Is that something that you work on, or is that just natural for you?
No, I appreciate you saying that. I don't think it's natural, to be honest with you. It is something that I work on very frequently, and I internalize and visualize, a communication, whether it's on a podcast or whether it's a discussion or a negotiation with a seller, or whether it's a talk. I mean, like, I was at that conference and I gave a keynote, and I definitely practiced. I mean, I don't just expect that it's just going to flow and I'm just this ultra talented person. I do think that I have some natural communication abilities, but I work at it for sure. So that's, to me, I like repetition as well. And one of the reasons I like doing a podcast is because it allows me to get in more repetitions.
Yeah.
Because in our business and real estate, it is all about communication. If you want to build a relationship with somebody, you've got to be able to effectively communicate. And so I think it comes along with those things, but then also the biggest thing and the deep seated thing is identity. So I really try to plant to my subconscious mind that I'm somebody who's worthy of communicating to others. I'm someone who is confident that I've done the homework, and I've spent the late nights at the office. I've read the books, and I'm continuing to read the books. I get up early, and I'm investing in myself, so I know that when I speak to someone else, I'm not just guessing about what I'm saying. Now, am I saying that I have every answer? Absolutely not. But what I am saying is that I'm confident in myself based on, the investments that I've made, not necessarily financially, while some may be, but just the time and the effort. And so I would say that's kind of how I come off, and that's hopefully how I will continue to come off.
Okay, so tell me about what is the method? What are the systems that you have in place to communicate with your investors so that they know, like, and trust you before you even ever have a deal?
Yeah, no, this is good. So we definitely have an email list. So that's one thing. And really kind of like the podcast is a great way for me to build relationships with people. And so they know that, who I am. They know I'm somebody that can be trusted. I'm somebody that's consistent, and I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not somebody who's just, doing one or two deals here and there and looking to raise some money and then I'll see you later. So I mean, those are definitely some ways that I'm always giving. And I like to give content as well, whether it's on social media or whether it's writing blogs or what have you. But one of the biggest ways is through our email. I have a newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks, and it's called the Chesser Connection. And it's all about, it's got podcast stuff, if I'm appearing on another show, if we've got a deal, obviously at that point, then you can start to learn about that. So there's just a few ways there. But in terms of other systems, I mean, certainly building a database and just staying on top of top of mind for those who are looking to be involved in this business, on a one-to-one basis as well. So I'm always available for that. But I think it's important that, like you mentioned, is systematizing. And so it's kind of on that continual basis. I mean, we come out with a show per week on the podcast. We're looking to increase that two per week here within the next couple months. And so, it's just about building that continual repetition and then having the opportunity to be available thereafter.
What about finding new people? So what do you do for lead generation? I hate calling them leads because really they're equity investor partners, the people that you're looking for,
Right.
people that you can assist, people that you can grow generational wealth with. What
Sure.
do you do to find those guys?
You know, a lot of it is really just kind of your old fashioned networking for me. I mean, I know others who are looking to build and grow their list absolutely substantially, and they're probably raising capital on a much higher degree than I am, you know. But at this point, really, it's just kind of on an organic basis. You know, like if I'm going to be at a conference, you know, I'm going to make sure to capture, you know, folks' names and contact information and get to know them, and then also, you know, just through really kind of getting out there, people come to me a lot of times and they'll say, hey, you know what, I heard you on this show and I'd love to have a conversation. And by the way, you know, anybody who's listening to this show can also do the same. But you know, that those are just a few ways, but it's kind of a slow and steady thing because each and every person that I meet, you know, I don't see them as a number. I don't see them as, hey, you know what, we're going to put you on the sheet and, you know, maybe you can invest X, Y, and Z, but it's, hey, I want to get to know you and I want to get to know you over the next few decades so that I can serve you appropriately. So I don't know. I kind of look at it as a really slow and long game.
Very cool. All right. So one of the things I heard you ask Whitney Sewell on a podcast that I was listening to on the way home from skiing yesterday or snowboarding was you asked him to talk about, you know, a scary experience or maybe something, a failure is actually what you called it, that he grew from. And
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to go in that direction with you. Is there something that really molded who you are today, whether in terms of personal development or real estate or anything that you can think of that really impacted you in such a way that it changed your entire way of being?
Yes. And actually, you know, it's really interesting is that I haven't talked about this a lot, but this was something that really changed me very deeply when I was in high school because I was growing up, I was a huge basketball kid. Like I loved basketball. Every single waking moment that I had, I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to be shooting, and it was like Michael Jordan passes to Scottie Pippen, passes to Tyler Chester for three, and the Bulls win. You know, like that was my life. And so my whole life was like about surrounding basketball, and I tried out for the high school team and got cut. And I'll be honest with you, at the time it was like one of the most heartbreaking things ever, like to a kid who was like so dedicated to this game. And it was like my whole world was shattered, you know. And I really think that I kind of like held that down like deep for a while, and it really kind of drove me to become somebody who is so driven, I think. And actually, the more and more that I've thought about this, I didn't realize it for a while, but you know, it's like what Tony Robbins says, I believe that life happens for you and not to you. So looking back, that moment caused me to really dig deep and just become this driven individual to, you know, in the beginning, I believe it was a little bit immature, but I was seeking a little bit of significance in another way. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to be successful professionally. And I didn't realize what that was, but now I feel so much more, I guess, I don't know, wise about the whole situation because I'm aware of now that it's come full circle. And you know, it's been a long time since that happened, but you know, it definitely shaped me, and it's shaped some goals that I've set for myself for my life. And so yeah, I mean, it was really a hurtful experience, but at the end of the day, you know, it was something that I think was extremely profound into who I am today.
You asked about, I should say, so I got really nervous because I want Whitney Sewell to come on my show, and he started talking about Christ, right? And
Yep.
I went to a Catholic school, and I think it extremely helpful, and I don't believe that any religion is good or bad, but I'm very much more so spiritual. I kind of wanted to ask you about, you know, you kind of went into purpose-driven business, some aspects of, you know, having a higher power to help you drive your business. What is your philosophy in that? Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's actually really interesting because I'm getting married this year, this summer, and I'm excited about that. And we just spoke to our officiant of our wedding, and we were having some trouble with this because my fiance and I are both, we would consider ourselves to be non-denominational Christians. And so, and the reason why is because we feel spiritual. We feel much more spiritual than religious. However, we do believe the tenets of our religion, but we don't accept a lot of the dogmas of many different sectors of the religion. And so, the way that I see it is that, and it's interesting to talk about this on a real estate podcast, but the way that I see it is, you can always, like, science and, some of the tenets of spirituality can be combined. Like, who's to say that one is exclusive of the other? So that's kind of where my background is on all this. But I believe 1000% in spirituality, and that we're all one, and that, what you create, like, one of the things that I've been studying so deeply recently is like quantum mechanics and the quantum
Yeah.
field. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable, because if you think about it, like, everything, like, really, when you study atoms, if you go all the way down, they are built off energy. It's not matter, it's energy, it's electrons. I mean, I may be speaking way out of bounds
Oh,
here,
keep
but, like,
going, man. Keep
I
going.
mean, when you have a thought, when you have an intention and you raise your emotions, you elevate your emotions, that's when something happens in the quantum field. You can actually create your future by this. And that's what I believe in spirituality. I'm like hitting my microphone. I'm getting so excited. Um, but you can really create this by your energy. And that's why I really appreciate when you say stuff about my energy, because I'm very intentional about that. I want people to feel that positive emotions. I'm here to serve. I'm here to do great things. I'm here to lift other people up. And I don't know, man. I just think that the universe is all one. And it's like, it's actually, like, if you dig down into it, it's light, it's not just matter. If you look back and, like, Newton, he thought that it was all matter, and that, one cause equals one effect, where, that's really been disproven. And, if you look at science and you mix that with spirituality, and you start to see that, what, the unknown is actually extremely possible if you set intentions, if you elevate your emotions, if you continue to work towards something. Sometimes you don't even have to work towards something. You just have to have that intention and raise your energy and your awareness. So I don't know. I'm kind of going all over the place
No,
with this, but I
it's
hope it's
cool.
resonating.
It's cool. I really wanted to talk about some of these things, and I'm going to steal a little bit of the show here to talk about some personal experiences that I was hoping to talk on your show, but I'm just too amped right now. I have to share. So, like, when I was young, my father died at 7 years old, and my vision, because I was in a Catholic school, was that there was this omnipresent God, right, that had control over when they take your father away from you or not. And I was very rebellious and angry at God as a
Hmm.
Christian, because I didn't understand the spiritual side of things. So I went through high school and a lot of my life being very angry. But like what you said earlier, Tony Robbins mentions it too. Life happens for you, not to you. And then when I finally became clear on the fact of the way life happens is for you, and the universe conspires on your behalf, right?
Yep.
So when I had that mindset, one of the places that I want to go with this is I wanted to ask you about this concept, which is like karma, right? So I believe, and I'm not sure if the audience agrees or disagrees or whatnot, but I believe that, like, when we're talking about science and spirituality and the conjunction of the two, when you start talking about like Think and Grow Rich and auto-suggestion and driving things deep into the subconscious mind so that they literally materialize and manifest, in order for you to do that, like, there's a story in the book about these guys who have a kid that's deaf, and then they just were so in alignment with God or their source that they literally brought to existence his ability to hear. I don't know if you're familiar with that story in the
Yep.
book.
Yep.
But I believe in the ability to manifest too. And I also believe, once I became spiritual, this understanding of karma. And when I am a good person according to my own personal moral values, I believe I have a greater connection to my source, which gives me a greater ability to manifest things.
Hmm.
So, like, before, I thought of good and good and bad and right and wrong, and now I think of it as, if I do things in a specific way that's in an alignment, it gives me more power to manifest the things that I want. Do these concepts make sense to you? I'd love to hear you, go into that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I totally believe in this, and it's hard to say if if karma is a real thing. I mean, I try to look at evidence-based studies and those kind of things, but I do believe that if you do the right thing, things will ultimately work out in your favor. Because I think if you do the opposite, then it ultimately the results are the opposite for you. And that's just based on my personal belief that ultimately source, God, universe, whatever, is a good being. It's a good concept. And like one of the things, like I just read a book called The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, who is a PhD. He's a MD genius. But what he did was he proved that eternity is real and it's scientific. He went into this as an atheist, as many scientists do, as what, I just believe in science, and this is, these are the facts, and this is it. And he went in and he started to realize, wow, there's a greater hand at play here. And if you start to really think about this stuff, it's amazing. And the other thing too is that Dr. Joe Dispenza, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he talks a lot about how really at the end of the day, if you can start to meditate on the fact that you are, he says, quote unquote, no one, nowhere, at no time, then you can enter into the quantum field. And once you do that, then you need to become all things, all beings, all times, everywhere. And it sounds like a crazy concept. Most people might be thinking, these guys are crazy, I'm turning this thing off right now. Or they might be saying, all right, wait a minute, there's something here to look into. And I would highly recommend, if you have some curiosity on this, you need to study this concept, because it's a total game changer. And what I believe and what the science has proven is that we all are one. We're all one being, and that all time does exist simultaneously as well, which is a pretty profound and mind-blowing concept. If you can really wrap your mind around that and start to use this to your advantage, you start to help other people, you bring this good energy, this giving energy to the world, amazing things start happening to you in your life.
Man, so the concept of the ego is something, for whatever reason, I want to bring it up since we're kind of delving into the spiritual side of things. The ego says that I am what I have, I am my reputation, I am separate from God, and then in reality, we are all connected, right?
Right.
So these concepts where I'm disconnected to the things that I want to attract, I'm disconnected to the people. There's a separation. Some people are included, some people are not. All these things, there's this jambalaya of concepts, and you don't know what to believe or where it can take you. Do you believe that the spiritual side of things can really produce an effect in your real estate business by focusing on that side? And if so, tell me how or why.
I do, for sure. I think that that's the reason why my show is called Elevate and it's not called Underwrite. Because anybody, you can hire somebody, or you can learn the concepts, you can learn the tactics, the tools, the strategies. That's all well and good. But at the end of the day, it's about your identity. It's about your energy that you bring to the table. The other stuff is a given. You have to do that. You have to be an expert. You've got to get there. But beyond that, the spiritual part of this, it's a spiritual journey. Business is a spiritual journey. I mean, there's ups and downs. There's times where it's trying. It's like, oh my gosh, how are we going to make it? But if you believe and you have faith and you continue to push through, and, you focus on the positive outcomes. I mean, it's like where focus goes, energy flows. I mean, I talk about this all the time too. I say a lot of these things that Tony Robbins says because I believe in them, and I believe in them so deeply within my soul. If you think about it, if you're focusing on something, whether it's, hey, I don't want to hit this negative target, guess what? You're going to hit that negative target. But if you're focusing on, hey, I'm going to hit this positive goal, this positive outcome, and that's what I'm seeking, no matter what happens, when something hits in my way, when there's a roadblock in my way, you know what? It's the universe testing me. How committed am I? It's God testing me, whatever it may be. And it's also there for a reason. Life happens for you, not to you. That's why you always have to remind yourself and realize that it is a spiritual journey at all times. And I think if you're not on board with that, I do believe that you're missing out on a huge opportunity, because I really think it can allow you to make quantum leaps and not just incremental progress. You know what? Incremental progress is great. And you know what? Who doesn't want to grow steadily? You know, if you look at it, most people say, hey, you know what? I want to grow my wealth by, you know, call it 2% annually, whatever it may be. That doesn't really excite me. It may excite many people, which is okay. But I think that they're leaving a lot on the table, whether it's financially or otherwise, if you're not signing on to the fact that it's a spiritual journey, not just business, life in general, but everything. It's all a spiritual journey.
All right. So what's the right mindset when you're out there? Some people don't like to say raising capital. Some people like to say providing an opportunity. But what's the mindset you need to have when you're creating these relationships with people so that you end up creating generational wealth together?
It has to be from a concept of giving. It cannot be from a concept of taking. You know, you have to realize, like when you're having a conversation with an investor, it needs to be, what are your goals? What are you looking to accomplish? And if it's the other way around, if it's, hey, I'm having a conversation with you so I can convert you to be an investor in my deal, then it's ultimately not going to work. Because look, your intuition and the human intuition knows when the energy is not giving and it's receiving. And a lot of times people can't understand that intellectually. They don't know, but they're like, you know what, there was something off with that guy or that girl or whatever it may be. And so I think people, humans, whether or not they say, hey, you know what, that spiritual stuff is woo woo, they will still feel that energy. And so I believe, in my opinion, the biggest, most important thing is you have to lead with that giving energy.
That's very cool. All right, so let's go into the CCIM. Why did you get your CCIM degree? Do you apply it? Is there something special about the network that you can benefit from in your current business? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I got into doing CCIM because as I transitioned from residential real estate to commercial real estate as a broker, I needed to be seen as an expert, and I needed to really know, because as I started to do those deals, I'm like, wait a minute, this is very complicated. I think I know what I'm doing, but I don't really know what I'm doing. And I was dealing with multi-millions of dollars worth of properties and deals and that kind of stuff. So it was really important for me to be an expert, become an expert, and it gained me a lot of credibility as well. And I also wanted to be an investor. And so I didn't really have any like real mentors otherwise who were great investors. And so I was able to plug into that network. And, you know, it allowed me to understand how to underwrite deals, you know, truly how to stress test deals, how to, you know, analyze a market, how to financially analyze, you know, what's the potential, what's the upside, what's the downside of everything. And so just getting a full perspective of real estate from that degree, I think was extremely important. And to me, it's still, you know, to this day, you know, my SEC attorney is involved with CCIM, Gene Trowbridge. He's a great guy. He's been around for, you know, 45, 50 years out of Southern California. And, you know, they do a phenomenal job, but I met him through CCIM. And, you know, my partner, I met him through CCIM. I had a call with a guy up in Columbus, Ohio today, and you know he shared a lot of great information with me, and I met him through CCIM. And of course, you can network in so many different directions, but I do feel like the quality of networking through CCIM is extremely strong. And further to that, you know, I'm 30 years old. And a lot of times, you know, people are much older in this business and they may say, well, you know what do you really know? And for me, you know, being a CCIM for multiple years and being recognized as an international rising star CCIM, you know, has really given me a lot more credibility to be able to, you know, do big deals and to be able to, you know, bring other people together to do big deals.
Cool, man. Let's go into your business. I'd love to hear about your track record, what you got going on, why you like multifamily, and what your role is within your business.
Sure. So I'm the founder and president of my business, Chesser Companies, and then also we have another company that is currently in process of being launched, currently called CF Capital, and I've got a partner there, and we are doing syndications of larger acquisitions, 100 to 350 unit deals in Kentucky, as well as we will be expanding in the Southeast. And so, you know, we're looking for those opportunities. We're turning over rocks every single day, and we've built a substantial team there. All right, track record. So I got into the business as an agent in 2013. I grew as a broker. And I started investing about 4 years ago actively. And, my first deal was an eightplex. I went in and, added a ton of value there. Then I bought a 36 unit deal. Then I started being a passive investor. And, I continued to grow in my experience, and I made a ton of mistakes. I mean, I made almost every single mistake in the book, and I got smarter as I went. And, I started to realize that the name of the game is scale. And I love multifamily because it's not like, I don't feel like there's as many economic extreme challenges when it comes to the asset class as there are with, retail or office, just as an example. So, while I love commercial real estate, but I also love that you can go into multifamily and add value. You can go in and, implement a business plan, and you can also have a lower degree of risk if you put the right team in place. So that's why I love multifamily. And I also see it as a long-term trajectory that's going to be safe long-term. I look at this crazy world that we're in, and I'm like, wow, Wall Street is crazy. I mean, certainly people are making money there, but I can't imagine the volatility that people, experience. And the same with other asset classes, whether it's in commercial real estate or otherwise. And so I really feel like multifamily is really kind of exactly where I want to be in this whole global environment.
For sure, man. I love multifamily too. So in your business, do you do the capital raising? Do you do the underwriting? Are you in charge of the construction or the vision of what you guys are going to do with the property? What is it that you do within the Chester companies?
Yeah, so I am in charge of acquisitions, dispositions, as well as investor relations for CF Capital. And so my partner is in charge of, asset management, property management, all the financial kind of stuff, underwriting. We do have an analyst on our team, as well as legal counsel, of course, accounting, CPAs, all that good stuff. So we've delegated a lot of the stuff, but what we oversee are those kind of pillars there. And in terms of the Chester companies, what I oversee is really everything. The business there, whether it's active investing deals, I'm still an active investor. Still, I'm an asset manager for all those deals as well as brokering deals for others. We sell commercial real estate assets there, as well as one-to-one coaching for real estate investors. So I see myself as a dynamic person. I don't have to put myself in one tiny little box here and say that's all I do, because I think that's a little bit outdated. Truthfully, hopefully that's not too over the top for some. But yeah, I mean, that's every day is a new day. That's for sure.
Okay, cool, dude. So you said that you are a coach. Tell me about your coaching program. What type of people do you coach? Is it more of a real estate thing or a mindset thing? Tell me about that process, the people that you.
Yep. Yeah, so it's a one-to-one thing. It's not a program. It's a tailor-made one-to-one program to where I just said program when it's not a program. It's a one-to-one service that I provide to real estate investors who are looking to up level. They're looking to maximize, they're looking to 100x, whatever they're doing. And it does go along the lines of peak performance, mindset, strategy. We put together a blueprint. It's all about time management. It's about holding people accountable, and it is on a continual basis to where I'm working with people one-to-one. I'm not farming this out to other people within my company, but it's actually one of the most fun things that I do, because I've gotten so much out of coaching, and continually invest in myself. So giving back to other people in this manner has been extremely exciting.
Cool. Tell us about some of the deals that you're working on or what your business model is. What kind of apartment communities are you looking to acquire? What size, what market, stuff like that.
Yep. So we're kind of focusing on Kentucky for now. And like I said, we will be expanding that across the Southeast. Our goal is 10,000 units
Nice.
across the Southeast. And it'll take time. We're happy to be slow. And really at this point in time, the market is so competitive. There's, very little deals that make a ton of sense. I mean, we've been underwriting like crazy, and a lot of times we're pretty far off on the expectations, but, we see it as an opportunity to just continue to refine our program, our infrastructure, our personnel. But we're looking to acquire, 100 to 350 unit deals. And I know that's a big range, but we do feel like there's an opportunity for us to fly under the institutional radar with 100 to 200 unit deals. So we are keeping that option open there. But, we're really kind of, for the most part, deal size is really anywhere from 10 to 30 million.
So we're exploring potential joint venture or co-GP partnerships. Do you have any experience like that? Would you be open to that? If I found you a deal that you're looking for, you could either one say, I'd like to buy that from you, I'd like to partner with you, or no thanks. Would you
I,
be open to something like that?
I'd be open to it. I mean, I could never say no to something until I look at it. But yeah, I would definitely be open to it. I mean, here's the thing. Real estate is such a people business. Sometimes people get caught up too much in the real estate. And so if the partnership makes sense and everybody has shared goals and shared interests, aligned interests, then I'd be more than happy to look at it.
Awesome, man. Okay, so let's go into raising capital. What do you do? What are your best practices? Who is in charge of that within your company?
Yeah, so I'm in charge of that. And so this is a new endeavor for me and for us because I've been an active investor and a passive investor. So I know what it feels like to be a passive investor. I know, what my expectations were when I give someone else my money. And, so I have that background and that experience. And so in terms of systems, it's all about just kind of being old school and treating people with respect and importance. And so that's kind of what I bring to the table here, but also with the experience that we have, we know that we're going to deliver a great product. So it's all about just kind of delivering on the expectations. And if and when things don't go exactly as planned, we over communicate and we face the brutal facts and we get through it and we pivot as needed. But, that's really how we handle it.
From the passive investor side, was there anything that you experienced that shaped the way that you're going to deal with or handle situations going forward with your own investor partners?
Yeah, one thing was the first deal I did as a passive investor, I got paid quarterly. And I know it's not a huge deal, but I felt like it should have been monthly. And it was, I mean, I know some groups do quarterly and that's fine. And it is certainly easier. But I think when you get that monthly check, it's a bigger reminder that, wow, I'm actually, this thing is performing and I'm kind of excited to do that again. And so that was one thing, one like tiny little thing that I remembered as a passive investor was like, wow, it feels like a long time since I've gotten a check here. And then also just, I felt like there was some lack of communication in the very beginning of like, hey, did we actually close this deal or not? Like, you guys have my money, but
Wow.
is the deal closed? So those are just two kind of takeaways that I had initially, and that we will definitely make sure that we improve upon as the operators.
All right, let's steer away from business for a second. I want to hear about some of your travels. When I first met you, you were just coming back from Italy, I believe, or on your way there, I forget.
Yep.
Where have you been going and what have you been doing?
I love to travel. In fact, here in 2 weeks, I'll be back in Australia. And yeah, we're going to be in Sydney and then we're going to Melbourne, going to the Australian Open. I actually have some family in Sydney, so we're going to go visit them. And we were back there last year as well. It's a very long flight, but totally worth it. And it's always worth it to go there in their summertime, our wintertime. So, going to be doing that here in the next couple weeks. This summer, I'm going to be in the Bahamas. I'm going to Africa. I'm going to be in Denver with you next month. A couple months after that, I'm going to Dallas for the syndication event there with the real estate guys. I think it's Secrets of Successful Syndication. They do a great seminar there. So I'm always on the road, whether it is for business or pleasure. I mean, honestly, our business never ends. So there's always something to be done. But I do want to make sure that I just don't wait until I'm, 70, 80 years old to do this traveling. I want to do it now and I want to go see the world. And also, here's the thing, too. We can be global in this thing. I mean, there are investors everywhere. There's people who are looking for these opportunities. And it's not a self-serving thing to do that, to go out and build a network, whether it's, in the United States or elsewhere. So I'm always thinking about business. I'm always looking for inspiration. And like you said, I was in Italy last year. I mean, if you haven't been to Italy, you got to go. You got to eat the food, number one. You got to drink the wine. I mean, we were in Rome, we were in Tuscany, we were in the Amalfi Coast. It's like amazing. But I always just get inspired to do bigger things whenever I go see the world. And I also remind myself, wow, you know what? There's so much more out there that we need to continue to push for. And so anyway, and then I get to meet great folks like yourself.
Yeah, man. Have you checked any of the demographics of your podcast? I have some listeners. You know what? Shout out to the people that are listening from Australia. I would have never guessed that there's
Yes.
people all over the world listening to my show. Have you checked the
So cool.
demographics? Where are some of the people that might have caught you off guard that they actually listen to you from?
I have, yeah. I mean, I've had folks from the UK. Actually, trying to think, Israel. I had some Israel. I had the Philippines, which I don't know if those are bots or not. I don't know what's going on over there. I've had Australia, of course, Canada. We love our Canadians.
Yeah.
In fact, shout out to Trevor McGregor, my man over there.
Coach Trevor.
Coach
How are you?
Trevor. I think I had Spain too. So I don't know, man. Everybody, it's interesting when I went to Australia, I'm looking around. I'm like, where's the apartments? Where's multifamily? They don't really do multifamily down there. So I think from what I understand, multifamily is a pretty much a United States kind of thing. So that's also a pretty interesting concept. If you think about it, if you open up the borders, if you're trying to do big deals, there's a lot of folks who are looking to get involved in what they see as a stable economy, as a stable environment, and something very unique and an investment opportunity that doesn't exist really many places.
Very cool. Yeah, man. Shout out to the people that are listening from Ireland too. You guys are representing. All right, cool, man. What about, so we'll finish off with this set of concepts, or maybe I want to hear about like New Year's resolutions and goal settings, and then we'll give the audience an opportunity to figure out how to connect with you.
Sounds great. So are you asking me what my New Year's resolutions are?
What do you think about them? Are they worth it? Like, so I've been just getting a lot of posts that resolutions are crap and this and that. I'm just kind of curious what your concept is. What's the importance that you set on goal setting? Do you believe in resolutions, stuff like that?
Okay, so I think so. Here's one thing. If it's lasting, yes. If it's not, no. Because if I think about this, like when I go to the gym in January, I'm like, get out of my way. I've never seen you before. Go away. And that's a little rude, but it is my internal thoughts. And the reason why it's my internal thoughts is because every single year, January, the gyms are packed. And then February comes, nobody's there. It's all the people who have fizzled out already. So if you're going to commit to something, commit to it and stick to it and change your identity. But sometimes I think people shoot too high and they don't do a little bit of incremental change. And, it is about your habits. It's about your identity. Do you believe yourself to be a fit, healthy person? Do you believe yourself to be a great real estate syndicator? So if your New Year's resolutions support habit shift and they support an identity shift in a positive direction, then do it, please. But for me, like I'm always looking to recreate myself every single day. Like I want to become somebody more. I do reset my goals at the new year, and I'm always readjusting my goals throughout the year. But I love, like, I went and printed my goals and laminated them, and I have them in like 5 different places because I want to see them. I want to read them every single day. And for me, like, the goals are really, that's, if I look back over the last several years, like the goals that I set, ultimately determined and dictated the direction of where I went. So I believe they're extremely important. Like Earl Nightingale says, success is the worthy progression of it, or is the progression of a worthy ideal. I'm probably butchering that.
You just got it.
And yeah, and I believe in that because, if you don't have a goal, believe it or not, your mind is going to take you somewhere. So why don't you just allow your mind to follow where you want to go? So I'm a big believer in it. As far as New Year's resolutions go, I just think, if you're going to do something, you have to commit to it. When it gets hard, just realize that you're breaking the chains of this identity and these habits that have subconsciously formed for many, many years that are not easy to break. And so once you realize that, then you can really change your life. But I don't know, that's a long-winded answer.
Yeah, what a freaking cool show, dude. I really love this, man. How does the audience get a hold of you, man?
Yeah, so you can check out Elevate Podcast on anywhere that you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, you name it. Go take a look at that, and we have a lot of resources there, as well as my website, tylerchesser.com, or, of course, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at the Tyler Chesser, LinkedIn as well. But I really appreciate you having me on the show, Ruben.
Yeah, dude, it's been a blast, man. I hope you like the direction of it. I didn't know. I've been thinking about like what are we going to talk about? Because I didn't want to talk too much real estate, to be honest with you. But
It
it's
was a
been,
lot of fun.
yeah, man. I had a great time. So I look forward to seeing you and getting a selfie with you again at the Best Ever Conference, man, and we'll get to hang out there.
I
So
will
thank
see
you
you
so
on the
much.
slopes.
Yeah, man. Tyler Chesser in the house, dude. Super stoked to have you on here, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy holidays. Give your wife a big hug for me. Wait, you guys are married, right? Or was your
Fiance, we are
fiance?
engaged to be married soon.
Okay,
I will
cool.
give her a big hug for you for sure.
All right, cool, man. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, man. We'll talk soon.
You too. See you, man.
Peace out, brother.
You know what? The spiritual stuff is woo woo.